Welcome back to the Crypto Channel, everyone. My name is Josh, and right now, Bitcoin is just about to break below this key area of support in the short term, as this massive warning signal is still playing out on the Bitcoin chart. And in less than 24 hours from now, we have new CPI inflation numbers being released, which could heavily affect the market in the short term. So I'll be talking about that in just a moment, alongside Ethereum potentially now starting to break below this multi-year line of support, while the price of Solana is now rejecting from key resistance in the short term, while XRP is potentially now invalidating this short-term bullish divergence. So I'll be talking about all of that and more later in the video, so definitely watch to the end. First of all, just before taking a look at the Bitcoin charts today, we need to talk about the news today, because in less than 24 hours from now, we have new CPI inflation numbers being released for the US, which could heavily affect the markets, at least in the short term, depending on what the new numbers are. And in case you're wondering, the new CPI inflation numbers will be released at exactly 1:30 p.m. GMT on the 12th of February. So in less than 1 day from now, once again, 1:30 p.m. in the GMT time zone. So you can use that to work out for your own time zone when that actually is. And long story short, the expectations for the next inflation numbers that are getting released in less than 24 hours from now is 2.9% year-over-year inflation. So essentially no change in the inflation rate, because the previous result was indeed 2.9% year-over-year in the CPI inflation. So essentially, once again, the expected outcome is no change in the inflation rate, to stay at 2.9%. And so what that means is that if we end up getting the expected outcome of 2.9%, that will be relatively neutral for markets. We shouldn't really see a lot of volatility based on the expected outcome actually coming out tomorrow. But if we see something significantly different from the expected 2.9% number, so for example, if we see something like 2.5% or 3.5%, then we could potentially see a lot of volatility in the markets in the shorter term. And in case you're new to all of this, if the number comes in below the expected result, so if it comes in below 2.9%, then in that case, that would be considered bullish. And if it comes in above 2.9%, that would be considered bearish. And the further away from 2.9% it is, then the more volatile they'll likely be. So for example, as an extreme outcome, if it came in at exactly 2%, would likely see a massive bullish move. Or if it came in at, let's just say 4%, would likely see a massive bearish move, for example. Or in another example, if we see just 2.8% or 3% flat, then we'll likely see maybe a slight little move, but nothing too significant. And as always, I will be sharing the number as soon as it gets released, within a matter of seconds from this number getting released, on my Twitter in real time. So if you want to get extra real-time updates from time to time, check out my Twitter or X, link below this video in the description and in the pinned comment, to get up to date on what this number is as soon as it gets released. But with that being said, taking a look at the Bitcoin charts today, on this weekly Bitcoin chart, technically speaking, in terms of the lows and the highs on the weekly time frame, we are currently within a larger bullish market. We've not yet confirmed any new bear market, at least as of right now. So that is still the situation on this chart. And if we're taking a look at this 4-day Bitcoin chart, the super trend indicator is still sitting in the green, indicating a larger bullish trend. But with that being said, if we're taking a look at this weekly Bitcoin chart, as I talked about in my last video just yesterday, we have now officially confirmed a new bearish crossover in the weekly Bitcoin MACD. And the last time this signal confirmed in this indicator on this time frame for the price of Bitcoin, we did end up seeing a bearish trend for the price of Bitcoin, a larger bearish trend for the next half a year approximately. So a multi-month bearish trend in the price of Bitcoin, containing obviously some short-term bullish price action, but more bearish than bullish for the next few months. And the time before that, we did end up seeing a decent pullback over the next 1 month approximately. And so obviously this signal does not tell us precisely how much bearish price action we'll see, but it is of course a bearish signal. It is more bearish than it is bullish. Like I just said, the outcomes of these two previous signals were indeed bearish ultimately. And so just don't be surprised if perhaps we see a little bit more of a pullback in the coming weeks, or maybe over the next 1 month or so. That could be a likely scenario that we need to consider. And if we're taking a look at this weekly Bitcoin chart, technically speaking, we do have a massive bearish bearish divergence on the weekly Bitcoin chart with higher highs in the price and lower highs in the weekly Bitcoin RSI, which is obviously a major warning signal that I have been talking about for a long time now on the channel. And this signal basically means that we're losing a lot of bullish momentum in the larger bull market. So in other words, the larger bull market is slowing down a lot. And so that is still the situation here on the larger timeframes. Honestly, since my last video just yesterday, not much has changed on the larger timeframes over the last one day. But if we're zooming into the shorter term, looking at the 8-hour Bitcoin chart, at least as of recording this video, the price of Bitcoin is now starting to actually attempt a break to the downside below this area of support, which was sitting in between around 95,000 to 96,000. And as of recording this video, we're starting to trade just below that area of support. But technically, we've not yet actually confirmed the break to the downside with candle closes. But if we do end up confirming candle closes here on the 8-hour chart, or especially a daily candle close below around 95,000, in that case, that would likely become new resistance. So if we see another bounce back to the upside after first confirming the break to the downside, expect resistance in between around 95,000 to 96,000. And as for the next area of support that I'll be watching, I'll mainly be paying attention to around 92 to 93,000. In that area previously, we've found a lot of support. And potentially one of the major reasons as to why we're seeing this short-term pullback right now is due to the fact that we have these new CPI inflation numbers being released over the next 24 hours, which comes with a bit of short-term risk because obviously before the numbers getting released, we don't know what the number actually will be. And so perhaps some people are just selling off in anticipation of the number perhaps coming in higher than expected, which would be bearish. So until that number gets released, essentially there's some uncertainty in the market in the short term. And whenever there's uncertainty in the market, that technically increases short-term risk, which can result in some short-term bearish price action. But then if that number comes in as expected or even below expectations, we could potentially see a bit of a bounce, basically reclaiming some of that latest drop. But it really all depends on that number that's getting released over the next 24 hours. And we also need to pay attention to liquidity, which I'll talk about in just a moment. But first, if you want to trade any of these moves in the price of Bitcoin or any other crypto, personally, I take most of my trades over on Bitfinex. So I'll make sure to leave a link to Bitfinex below this video in the description and in the pinned comment. And if you use that link, it'll take you to this page right here where you can claim some massive rewards that are only available using that link. So for example, if you use that link below this video to make your account and start trading on that account, you can get up to a brand new Tesla, or if you don't want the Tesla, you can get 35,000 USDT into your account, which you can actually withdraw, or a brand new Rolex or an Apple Vision Pro or an Apple MacBook Pro, etc. Massive bonuses here that you can claim simply by trading crypto. So if you're going to be trading crypto anyway, you might as well check this out. Once again, first link below this video. And remember, these rewards are only available if you actually use the link below this video to make your account and start trading on that account. And also, in case you're wondering, Bitfinex is a no KYC exchange, which means you can access it from basically any country in the world without needing any KYC. But as always, check your local regulations when it comes to trading crypto. And for whatever reason, if you don't want Bitfinex as an exchange, there is also Bybit as another option out there, another exchange that I also trade on. So I'll also make sure to leave a link to Bybit below this video in the description and in the pinned comment. But with that being said, taking another look at this Bitcoin chart, and as I just said, if we break below this area of support with confirmation, we could see a continued move down towards the next area of support in between 92 to 93,000. And if we're looking at liquidity, we do have a lot of liquidity building in between around 94,000 to 95,000 approximately. And we also have a small amount of liquidity building at approximately 92,000. So those are the levels to watch out for in the short term. For example, if we actually properly confirm this breakdown and start breaking below around 94.5, give or take, then that could start wiping out some long positions, causing a small long squeeze, possibly causing more sell pressure and a drop down towards the next support. And then around that 91K level, that is a very crucial level for the price of Bitcoin. So if we break below around 95,000 with confirmation, with candle closes below that level, that's not necessarily the end of the world in the short term. Maybe we just see another drop down towards this next area of support. But if we start breaking below the lower 90k area, below around 91k, and especially if we enter back into the 80k range with candle closes in that area, that would be bad news, not just for a few days or weeks, but possibly months for the price of Bitcoin. And as for resistance, if we can quickly see some sort of bounce here and hold on to this support at 95 to 96,000, in that case, I would expect some resistance at around 98,500 to 99,000 and more resistance in between 101,000 to 103,000. And with that being said, if we're taking a look at Ethereum on the weekly time frame, as of recording this video, the price of ETH is starting to potentially break below this massive multi-year line of support, which has been holding as supports since around the middle of 2022. And currently this line of support is sitting at roughly around 2.6k, just above 2.6k. And as of recording this video, we're trading just below 2.6k, but technically we still need to actually confirm that potential break to the downside with at least a weekly candle close well below 2.6k. And if we actually confirm the break to the downside below this line of support, in that case, next I'll be watching these previous lows as support, sitting closer towards around 2.3k based on the weekly candle closes, or if we're looking at the actual candle wick lows, we're looking at roughly around 2.1k. And if we break below 2.1k, that would be very bad news for Ethereum for potentially a number of months. But looking at other shorter term levels of support and resistance for Ethereum here on the 3-day time frame, we do have this 50% retracement level acting as some support at around 2,500. And we also have the all important golden pocket area of support sitting in between around 2,150 to 2.2k. And as for resistance, I would expect a lot of resistance in between around 2.7k to 2.8k based on previous support and resistance, once again acting as resistance. And if we're taking a look at the price of Solana on the 8-hour time frame, as of recording this video, the price of Solana is now once again rejecting from this area of resistance that I've already been warning about for a while now on the channel, which is sitting in between around $199 to $205. So like I've said recently here on the channel, expect the price to struggle a lot, especially around 205. And obviously we never confirmed an 8-hour candle close above $205, confirming the breakout. And so at this point, I'll no longer necessarily rely on this bullish divergence playing out much longer, considering it's already played out for roughly around half a week, which usually tends to be the situation when we're talking about a bullish divergence on the 8-hour time frame. And also, if we're looking at the 8-hour Solana RSI, we're getting very close to actually breaking below this ascending line of support. And if that actually confirms, that would be an invalidation signal for this bullish divergence. And obviously, we can only continue to expect more of a bullish relief if we first confirm that breakout above $205, which I talked about over the last couple of days. I said we need to first see a confirmed breakout above 205 before expecting a continued relief up towards close towards around 220. And obviously, we never confirmed the breakout above 205. We continue to struggle in this area of resistance as expected. And also, usually the price of Solana, along with a lot of the top altcoins out there, follows similar price action to what Bitcoin is doing. So if Bitcoin is having a short-term pullback, expect something similar for a lot of the altcoins, not the exact same, but something similar. And so that is simply the situation for Solana. We're currently rejecting from short-term resistance. And when it comes to support, I would expect some support at close to $190 and more support in this price range in between around 178 to 183. And if we're taking a look at the price of XRP on the daily time frame, XRP is still currently trading within this sideways price range in between support and resistance. First of all, this area of support, in case you're new to the channel, is still sitting in between around $2.25 to $2.30, acting as support. And this area of resistance is sitting in between around $2.58 to $2.73 based on previous resistance. And we also have a bit of short-term resistance closer towards around $2.53 based on these latest highs in the candle wicks. And of course, the larger bearish divergence on the daily time frame and also on larger time frames is still currently active for the price of XRP. It's just over the last half a week or so, over the last few days, we have obviously seen a bit of a break from the bearish divergence playing out, a bit of a short-term relief due to the fact that we were playing out this bullish divergence on the 8-hour XRP chart exactly as expected. But as I said just earlier, for Solana, I would not necessarily rely on this bullish divergence for too much longer, because we could possibly now be invalidating the bullish divergence on the 8-hour XRP chart, especially if we confirm this candle close with the RSI below this line of support. That would be the first invalidation signal to invalidate this bullish divergence. And so, as I said this entire time, of course, while the bullish divergence is playing out in the short term, expect either a slight bullish relief or some choppy sideways price action, so a break or a relief from all of the bearish price action, but not necessarily the end of the bearish price action, just simply a pause from the price action before potentially resuming more of a bearish trend. That is still a possibility that we need to consider. But obviously, before expecting the next major bearish move, of course, we still have this area of support that I just mentioned earlier. So for now, the price is still somewhat within a bit of a short-term sideways price range until we break below around $2.25. If that were to happen with a daily candle close below $2.25, in that case, we could potentially retrace back down towards around $2. And with that being said, if we're taking a quick look at the price of Chainlink on the daily time frame, over the last few days, the price of Chainlink has been within a bit of a sideways price range, basically chopping around sideways between this retracement level acting as support, the 50% retracement level sitting at around $17.70. So as I've been saying recently, really in between around $17.70 to $18. That's the area of support to pay attention to in the shorter term. And as for resistance, we have a lot of resistance in between around $19.50 to $20, which over the last one day is pretty much exactly where we rejected from as expected. And so in the immediate short-term situation for the price of Chainlink, we are somewhat neutral, chopping around sideways within a sideways price range between support and resistance. But if we're taking a look at this larger price structure on the daily time frame, technically speaking, we are more bearish than we are bullish, because we are forming lower highs and lower lows, which is basically the definition of a bearish trend. And of course, we have broken below previous points of support and not really seen any major breakouts above resistance, which is all bearish price structure. And so if the price of Chainlink eventually leaves this sideways price range with perhaps a break below this retracement level of support, in that case, the next major Fibonacci area of support to the downside is, of course, the golden pocket area of support sitting in between around $14.90 to $15.50 if we first break below the area of support in between $17.70 to $18. And remember, if you want to trade any of these moves in the price of any crypto, check out those links below this video to those exchanges if you want to claim those massive exclusive bonuses that are only available using those links. And if you want to actually know how to trade crypto, no matter if the price is bullish, bearish, or chopping around sideways, you can profit from all of that price action by watching these videos popping up right here on your screen. The video in the top left shows you how you can profit from bullish or bearish price action using long positions or short positions. And the video in the bottom left shows you how you can easily profit from choppy sideways price action. But anyway, that is everything that I have to say for today. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video.